Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Chelsea. If you're new here, I'm a clinical psychology doctoral student and I just started the third year of my program. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we're going to be talking about organization, accountability, and motivation for your dissertation. So some things that help me to stay organized are to write down the things that I have to do for my dissertation in at least 3 or 4 different places. So for me, I like to use the Note app on my phone, and I have like a to-do list of things to do throughout the week. So each day of the week, I assign myself some tasks to do there. And then I also like to use the Reminder app, and I set daily reminders for me to work on my dissertation. So early in the morning, like around 10:30, I'll get a reminder to work on the dissertation, and then I'll have to check that I did that as well. And I also use a planner. So I've been using a planner since like college. So I've been doing the Note app and a planner for years, and it's just something that I'm used to. So for my planner, I do the same thing. I write all of my homework assignments there and things to do. So I document what I want to accomplish in my day in at least 3 different places. And that helps me to stay not only organized, but also to help myself feel like I'm being productive. And I like the feeling of being able to remove something from my list of things to do. It gives me like this kind of joy on the inside. So those are some things that help me that I do already to keep myself organized. Another thing that I did to be organized for my dissertation, and this is something that I talked about in a previous video, was I created my own documents for the dissertation. I created my own syllabus, and I created an annotated bibliography document. So I showed you what those look like in a previous video, but I'll show you what they look like again and just a little bit more detailed as to how I'm using them to stay organized. Okay, so this is the syllabus document that I created, and I made it to match the format of a regular syllabus that you would have in college or whatever, just so it seemed familiar for me and it was something that I could continue to follow up on throughout the program, because I took a dissertation seminar class where I first started working on the dissertation, and essentially that was the only class that we had specifically for the dissertation. There's no follow-up to hold you accountable. The rest is on your own. So I figured if I do a syllabus for myself, then it'll be like I'm in another class and I can just check these things off weekly so I can meet the deadlines that I set for myself. So I did the week, and I did topics of my dissertation, and then the assignments were articles that I wanted to read and include. So at the top you can see here it says highlighted, and that would mean that it needed to be written about in my annotated bibliography document, which I'll show you next, or it needed to be written and cited in my actual dissertation proposal. So as you can see, all of these are not highlighted because I have been able to write about them and cite them, and I fully read them. So if they have a check mark next to it, that means that I fully read the document. And this is how I kept myself organized. And as you can see here to the left, these items are highlighted and they corresponded with highlighted articles over here, so I knew what sections I was going to be covering. And what I did was I read all the articles for one section together. I used my annotated bibliography, and then once I got all the articles in one section read, I was able to summarize what I was going to talk about in my proposal in a more succinct manner. So I'll just scroll down so you guys can see, like, I've covered a lot of stuff in 4 months, right? So this is essentially where I am today, back to highlighted areas. So your girl still has some work to do. Next, this is the annotated bibliography, and essentially it has the sections of my dissertation proposal with all the articles that go in the section. And previously, most of these were highlighted because that meant that I didn't read them or write about them in my dissertation. So you saw some have highlights because those are new articles that I'm going to be adding to the final product. But here, all I do is cite the article at the top, and I give a brief summary of what was covered in that article so that when I want to write about these articles together, I can go back and remind myself, okay, what was important in this article for me to, include, and what are similarities amongst these articles that I can write all together in like one sentence and cite multiple at the end of the sentence. So that's a tip that I would give for you guys on how to summarize the literature that mimics the same format that you would see in a literature review paper. So that's how I use my annotated bibliography and my syllabus to stay organized. The next thing that I did is focused on accountability. So for me, at the time when I was starting my dissertation, there wasn't anyone that I was relying on to help me stay accountable. So that's why I created my syllabus, because that was a way for me to personally keep myself in check. And for me, I'm a person that likes to meet deadlines. So I figure if I give myself deadlines, then that will help me to stay on track and productive and be able to finish my dissertation within the timeline that I set for myself. So another way that I chose to keep myself accountable was to choose a chair who was willing to meet with me monthly, so that I felt if I was meeting with them monthly, I would have to produce something for them to review every month. So that was the approach that I took to stay accountable. My chair and I set up monthly meetings, and if I came to a meeting and I didn't have anything that I had already submitted, I would feel bad about it. And that would give me like the motivation to like work on the proposal. So I would suggest finding a chair, if you haven't already found one, who will meet with you monthly. And if you do have a chair, bring that up, like, as a way to help you be more accountable, for you guys to set up monthly or at least more frequent meetings, so that I have this meeting every month and I need to have something in their hand for them to review and for us to discuss. And so along with that, I also set monthly due dates for proposal drafts. So that kept me on track as well. So it will be like a 2-week period between when I wanted my draft to be sent to my chair, and then 2 weeks after that we would have our meetings. So that would happen every month, and that's how I pretty much kept myself accountable. Another thing that I would suggest is maybe to find someone, maybe from your program, or maybe a mentor, or maybe you could like join a group on Facebook for people who are in doctoral programs, and just finding a group of people who will hold each other accountable. Someone who, you tell them, oh, I want to work on this, and then they're the type of person who will say, well, did you work on it? You need to, they give you the push that you need. And maybe like having a group of people who you're working towards finishing your dissertations together. You guys can have like maybe a group me or like a Facebook group, and you guys check in like every week. Okay, so how are people doing with like working on their proposals? How much have you guys been able to, get done? So that gives you the push that you need to be working on it actively, because the goal is that you don't want to go months without working on it, because then that'll turn into years. And I can speak from example, though it was about 2 years. Yeah, it was about 2 years, because I started my dissertation seminar class in 2018, and then I really wasn't working much on it until this year. So that was like 2 years, but that's because I was active in doing other program requirements. So, but still, you don't want to go months without working on your dissertation, because honestly, it can be completed. Like the proposal part can be completed within months if you stick to it and if you're working on it every day or at least every week. So those are some tips that I have for holding yourself accountable. The last thing that I want to talk about is motivation. So what helped me to get motivated to work on my dissertation? The first thing was the current events that have been going on was something that was a motivating factor to me because my dissertation is related to that specifically. So when things were happening, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to include this in my dissertation, so I need to be up to date with these things. So that's part of what gave me the nudge that I needed at a time where my motivation was like lacking and low. So that's one thing, current events, outside situations that cause me to feel motivated to work on my dissertation. So for you, if your dissertation isn't related to anything that's going on socially or anything that is an active present issue, then I would suggest that you find something out there that can be your motivating source. The next thing that helped me to be more motivated was the desperation that I felt. So I felt like I was struggling very hard to have any motivation to do anything. So I was praying and I was asking God to give me the motivation that I needed to work on my dissertation. So what did that look like? I was praying and I started a devotion on like how to build habits, and I wanted to build the habit of working on my dissertation consistently. So I did a habit devotion on the Bible app, and I was fasting as well. And what was I fasting for? I was fasting so that I could defend my proposal by the deadline that I had set. And by this time, this was like 4 or 5 months ago, by this time I had probably only had 1 or 2 drafts done. And then within that 4-month period, I was able to establish the habit of working on my dissertation and being more productive, submitting more proposal drafts, and that really helped me to be motivated to work on this dissertation. Lastly, as I said before, deadlines give me a fire under my butt that I need to get motivated. And I think that works sometimes for other people as well. Like some people might procrastinate, and then the fact that they have to meet this deadline is what gives them the push they need. So for me, that's kind of how I find motivation, having deadlines to meet. So yeah, I'm sure you guys know yourselves better than I know you. So my suggestion is just find things that you know will get you motivated to do the things that you don't want to do, and force yourself to do it. Okay, you have to discipline yourself essentially to work on your dissertation every day, and if not every day, every week, just to hold yourself accountable so you have a schedule that you're following. And then when you're in the mood to work on your dissertation, even if you just allow yourself like an hour or 2 hours every night, sometimes by the time like that period may end, you may still want to work on it. So that's how you're building your motivation to work on your dissertation. But that's pretty much everything that I have for you guys. I hope this video was helpful for you. If so, let me know down below in the comments. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like this video, and if you have any suggestions or things that you guys want me to talk about, feel free to let me know down below as well. But yes, feel free to explore the channel. There's more than just, you know, Chelsea tips videos. I also document my journey throughout the program. So if you want to see how it's been for me so far, feel free to check out the playlist above. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!